Here I am getting ready to do a video on perfectionism, and I'm sitting here trying to make it perfect in my head before I even speak the words. It's kind of defeating. Let's do it. Well, hey, if you clicked on this video because you were looking for some ways to overcome perfectionism in your life, then I'm gonna ask that you stick with my video, because in today's Transform Your Mind Tuesday, we are talking about perfectionism. It's a topic that probably cripples us all at some point in our life, and I wanna share with you my 5 tips on how to overcome perfectionism in your life. It's coming your way right now. Well, hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you've been here for a bit, if you are new, I am super pumped that you were here today. My name is Lauren, and my channel is all about making beauty easy for the girl who thinks that she can't, both internally and externally. My hope today is that you will consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so that you can get alerts every single time I upload new videos, which is every single Friday, every third Thursday, and every 4th Tuesday of the month. And it is the 4th Tuesday of the month, which means it is Transform Your Mind Tuesday. And this is a series on my channel that I do once a month, and we just cover real life topics that we're struggling with in life. And the whole goal is really based upon Romans 12:2, which says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but in fact be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so the whole goal behind Transform Your Mind Tuesday is to help you renew your mind to things that are healthy for you, things that are beneficial for you, and ultimately things that are godly for you. So today what I want to talk about is a topic that actually has crippled me for a lot of years of my life, and a lot of my friends and family actually struggle with the same thing, and that is perfectionism. So as I was putting together some content for you today to actually film this video, and of course in all true perfectionist fashion, I would have to have a notebook of notes to film a video on perfectionism. That wouldn't make this video complete if I didn't have that, so I do. It does help me stay on task too, because I think I can be a little chatty. Anyway, but I was kind of researching and thinking of how I could break this topic down, because it's actually, perfectionism can be, it's actually very, very broad, at least in my opinion it is. So I've got a couple notes for you. I have a couple things pulled up that I want to share with you. And my hope today at the end of this is that you can take these 5 tips that I'm gonna give you in this video and start working on ways to overcome perfectionism in your life. Because to be honest with you, you weren't meant to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You were just meant to do great things, and God gave you plenty of gifts, and you need to start using those gifts and talents today, right now, because life is literally passing you by. So as you watch this video, and after you're done watching this video, I want you to take these 5 tips and start putting them into practice immediately into your life, so that you can become the best version of yourself possible and do the very things that God intended for you to do on the planet. So let's jump in, and the first thing I want to jump in with is I found something that was kind of cool, and it was actually this list of like 5 reasons on how you know you're a perfectionist. And I thought, wow, this is really good, because these are things that you typically don't think that they are, because it comes with a talent, and then that talent has a perfectionism wrapped into it. And so see if these resonate with you. The first one is that you're constantly second guessing yourself. So your talent is that you're diligent and you're conscientious, but your perfectionism says that you're second guessing and overthinking yourself. I am a huge chronic overthinker. I will overthink the smallest things, and then in big scenarios and situations, I overthink as well. And I would say that 90% of my problems in life that I'm struggling with tend to be from the fact that I'm overthinking a situation to the core. I will overthink it to death. So that is definitely one for me that is crippling. The second one is you can't let go. Your talent is that you have a really keen eye for detail, which is amazing. That's not everybody has that. The perfectionism piece is that you're unable to let it go because of the fact that you have such an eye to detail. Whatever it is you're working on or creating never fits your idea of perfectionism or perfection. Did I say that right? Your idea of perfection. So therefore you keep working on it or keep toiling over it. The third one is you're stuck in comparison. So your talent is that you favor quality and quantity, which is awesome. Nothing wrong with that. But the perfectionism piece is that you keep falling into the comparison trap for both of those things. I would also go as far to say and I've said this in a few other Transform Your Mind videos, but comparison is the thief of joy. And a lot of times in our life, especially social media is a big one that I've kind of preached on, if you will, on my channel. But we can kind of get in this comparison place in our lives. Like for me, I've said this before on other videos, but I'll look at other YouTube channels, you know, as I'm growing, and you guys know this has been a process, especially if you've been here with me from the jump. My channel's growing, and it's growing amazingly, but I have watched other channels just like skyrocket to success, and therefore I start comparing myself to them as if I'm doing something wrong or something that I'm doing is not good enough or whatever, and it's simply just not the case. It's that everyone's journey is different. So I have definitely been guilty of comparison, and I would say that that would be the second one for me. So it's constantly second guessing myself and overthinking, and then comparison for me. Those are the two huge ones for being a perfectionist. And then the last one, definitely an issue of mine, is you are a control freak. If you're a Vampire Diaries fan, I always think of Caroline. I did not like her character in the first season, and quickly she became, besides, let's not even talk about Damon Salvatore, heartthrob, okay. Ian Summer Smolder, I love you. If you ever watch this, yes, Summer Smolder is what I said. That's what I call him. Hit me up, bro. You're on my celeb top 5. Anyway, let's move on. But with that show, Caroline's, her character, I think, is an ESFJ, and I have actually done a personality typing video I'll link for you here that was all about Myers-Briggs, and so I relate so much to Caroline's character, which is so funny that I didn't care for her in the first season, but they really developed her as she morphed into a vampire, if you will, and she is like my favorite character of all time. But as I listen to her, my husband and I laugh because so many of the statements that she makes and things that she does are things that I do. So I'm a control freak, and so is she. That was my whole point there on that tangent. But the talent is that you love working in a structured and organized manner, and that those things come natural to you, and they do come natural for me. Here's the problem. Getting caught up in my control issues, meaning I have to, like, if it's not in my control, it's like something in me just wants to burst and to break because I need that control to be there for me to feel like I can conquer it, or for me to feel like it's gonna succeed or excel. And life isn't always that way in projects or even in general. And I've learned, and I'm learning, the more I let go and realize that I don't have to have control over everything in life, the better off I am. So if you can relate to any of those things, or if any of those things like kind of resonate with you, then you might be struggling with perfectionism. And so my hope today is that as I share these 5 tips with you on how to overcome it, that it'll actually be able to help you a lot. So let's jump into my notes here. So the 2 key crippling pieces of perfectionism that most people usually struggle with are not finishing a project or task, because it needs to be perfect, which we kind of went over on the list that I just gave you. And the second one is procrastination, which is being afraid of making mistakes, so you never start. And I know for me, that is something that I have definitely been guilty of. When I first started my YouTube channel, I was working at Sephora, but I was really afraid to dive all in, and I started my makeup journey. And actually, this is really even before my YouTube channel, to be honest with you, because when I started getting into makeup, it was because I was watching so much YouTube, and I thought, man, if I could learn to do this, I think I could be really good at this. I think I could, you know, have a great channel. I would love to do this. This looks fun. But I was really insecure with myself. And so because of that, I stalled out, if you will, on even learning makeup for a while. I wanted to just not go out because it wasn't perfect, or I would, you know, spend time creating these looks, and if it wasn't perfect, then I didn't want to go out. And I kind of did that a lot. So I procrastinated even learning because I was so scared to do it wrong, or afraid of like making mistakes and it was going to turn out, you know, terrible. So procrastination is probably huge for a lot of people who struggle with perfectionism. And procrastination, I think, is really one of those things that can honestly just cause instant death to anything that you're working on that is of value. Because if you never start, you're never going to finish, and starting is one of the biggest and most bravest steps that you can take. So whatever it is in life right now that you're procrastinating on, whether it's your health and fitness journey, whether it is diving deeper with God, whether it's a relationship that either needs to go or needs to start, or you have a career or a dream, can I just encourage you today to like press stop on this video and just start, like do something today and start that journey? Because if you're procrastinating that, you are seriously shooting yourself in the foot so much, and I want to see you win. And if you take nothing else away from this video, that's the best piece of advice that I have for you. So those are the 2 things that usually trip people up. So now let's talk about the 5 ways that you can overcome perfectionism in your life. So the first way is to actually set up a timeline, a time limit and a deadline. So a lot of times what we see with perfectionists is that they never finish projects. And again, we've just been talking about this a little bit, but my husband and I know will relate to this too, but he and I talk about this a lot because we've done it a lot. We're entrepreneurs too, so we're always starting new things and creating things, but then it's just like we don't know how to finish it, or we don't want to release it, or we don't this or we don't that because it's not perfect. And so what we've learned, and we even teach this with our coaching clients, and again, if you guys want to see some of my Transform Your Body Thursday videos, I'll link that whole series for you too. That's my whole fitness series that I do once a month on this channel. But this relates to that because I talk a lot about the good, great, and awesome goals on Transform Your Body Thursdays because it's so relatable when it comes to fitness. So when I'm saying to you, set a time limit or set a deadline, I want you to actually set good, great, and awesome goals for your projects or things that you actually need to wrap up and finish. And what that does is, as a perfectionist, it doesn't give you such a hard deadline that you feel like a failure if you don't meet it or if you're kind of nervous about it. But what it does do is give you 3 ways to win at it. So set a good goal. Set, for instance, let's just say you have a project and honestly you know that if you really sat down and you started working on it, it would take you 6 months. And that would be your, let's call that your awesome goal. So then your great goal would be a step above that, and that would be maybe 7 months. And then your awesome goal would be 6 months. A step above that would be your great goal, that would be 7 months. And then your good goal would be 8 months. So that way you give yourself a ladder to climb, if you will, and then you're not setting yourself up for failure if you don't meet that first deadline. And we do this in fitness because it teaches people how to win, and it teaches them to take these big chunks of project in their life or these big things that are causing them such anxiety. And again, if you're a perfectionist, you know what I'm talking about with anxiety, with stuff that you're trying to do or accomplish. And it breaks it down into bite-sized pieces so that we have 3 ways to win at something that we're doing. So I hope that helps when I say set a timeline and set our time limit and a deadline, is to actually break it down into 3 winnable goals. And that way, no matter which one you hit, good, great, or awesome, you win either way you go, and then you actually finished a project as a perfectionist, which is huge. So the second one, oh, this is so huge, and this is a big one for me, but it's embrace mistakes and failures. I cannot say enough to you that you need to fail, and you need to fail often. And there's a book, actually, I'll even link it for you below, but it's called Failing Forward. It's one of the greatest books that you can read. And I will say this, when you are doing things of worth and you have a calling on your life, which every one of you who are watching this, you have a calling on your life. There's something that you were made to do on this planet, that you were born to do, that you were gifted to do from your creator. He's got a plan for you, and he wants you to utilize it while you're here. But you don't get to here when you're down here. It actually, you have to climb that, and a lot of times there's a lot of failure in between, and that failure portion, that gap portion, is when our faith grows. And so it's really important that we're okay with failure and that we don't get tripped up about failure. And I would even go as far as say as to mess up on purpose. Like honestly, like mess up on purpose. And here's what I mean. For me, when I was starting my YouTube channel, I was so scared of getting, crappy comments. I was so scared of getting ridiculed. I was so scared of people getting on here and being like, you suck at makeup, and you're this and you're that, and picking apart my face, and picking apart my skill, and picking apart everything that possibly could be picked apart on YouTube, because as you know, this is a public platform, and it happens. It kept me from doing it for so long because my personality type, I want approval. I struggle with that. That's like a big struggle for me, is needing and wanting approval. And I've had to learn over the years that I only need approval from one entity, one being, and that's God. So everyone else just really doesn't matter. That's been a struggle for me. So what I had to do is something that a mentor of mine always says, and it was punch fear in the face, press record, and upload. And if you go back, in fact, I challenge you to, go back to my YouTube channel and look at my first couple of videos. They're horrible. And I will say this, if you're 100% proud of the very thing that you're putting out, you probably waited too long to put it out in the first place. I'm not proud of those videos that went out all those years ago. I'm proud that I did them, but they're not my greatest videos. And in fact, I've watched some of my videos that are even a year old from right now, and I've grown so much as someone who does content and creates content for a living. I've changed so much. I've done so many things different. More of my personality comes out to see you guys. And I don't even care about the flaws and the mistakes. And when I'm doing makeup and I decide not to fix my hair because the makeup is for the video and I don't give a crap if my hair's a mess, or if I'm wearing a friend's t-shirt on a video because I need to get this content out to you. I've changed so much. And before, I was just scared to even do it because I was scared of being picked apart and being ridiculed. But I had to learn that the only way I was going to learn was to fail and to get better. And it's the same with anything. So you're never gonna be great at something when you first start out. And does it mean that you don't have a talent for it? It just means that you're not gonna be great at it when you first start it. So the key is to fail and fail often. So the third one is overcome your fear. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, typically, a lot of times when we struggle with perfectionism, it stems from something on the inside of us that's usually driven by fear. Maybe it's the fear of rejection. For me, that is definitely what it was. I was afraid of being rejected here on YouTube. It's unrealistic expectations. I totally had unrealistic expectations. I, look up to so many amazing YouTubers in my industry, and then YouTubers who aren't in my industry that just have amazing editing skills, and they put out amazing content, and they have the best cameras and the best lighting, and I didn't have the budget for that, and I had to just figure out what was gonna work on my own. And so it created a lot of fear for me of that same rejection, and then unrealistic expectations for where I was at in my YouTube journey that's different from everyone else's. So what I mean by that, or what I'm getting to, is really just determine what exactly is causing the fear in the first place. Is it something that happened to you as a kid? Is it unrealistic expectations that maybe your parents had set up for you? Maybe you were like forced to be a straight A student, and anytime you brought home a B, even though you tried your hardest, it wasn't good enough. Or maybe it was rejection when you were younger. Maybe you were rejected by the popular crowd. Maybe you were an athlete and something happened and you screwed up the big game and you guys lost. And maybe that was it. I don't know. But figure out what it is in your life that's causing that fear, because chances are that is going to play right into the perfectionistic state that you're living in right now. All right. And the fourth thing, learn to love the phrase, "it's good enough." This one's huge for me. And the reason it is because the quote that I've always heard is, "done is better than perfect." And it's so true, because it doesn't need to be perfect to still be excellent. And I think that's where we really get confused at, is we confuse perfection with excellence. I want to say perfectionistic. We confuse that. And here's another thing for me I just thought about. I mispronounce my words all the time, and I used to be very self-conscious about that on YouTube, and I've learned to just embrace it. That was another thing that got me with fear of doing this, is because I talk over myself and get excited, and I talk fast. And even in conversation, I do that, and I don't care about it when I'm on like one-to-one conversation with people, but it bothers me on camera. I've learned to just embrace it. So that was totally random, but I thought I'd share. Anyway, back to the point, I think that we really confuse perfectionism and things being perfect with excellence. And just because something isn't perfect in our minds doesn't mean that it isn't excellent or isn't worthy to be released. And if we get hung up on the fact that something has to be a certain way, look a certain way, be a certain way, or done a certain way, then we're really gonna miss out on something great that we've crafted that really needs to get out into the world and change people's lives. And so I wanted to share that with you and make sure that you know that you just need to learn to love the phrase, "it's good enough." And if you can honestly say in your heart, and I think this takes some time to kind of examine, but if you can say in your heart that you did a good job, and that you worked hard on it, then it's good enough. It's good enough to release. And that's where I had to get with YouTube. I had to just say, okay, my first videos are not gonna be my greatest videos, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take everything that I know right now and whatever topic I'm gonna be talking about, and I'm gonna give them everything that I have on this video for this topic, and it's gonna be good enough to release. And whatever happens, happens. And that's what started the journey for my channel, and it changed things for me. And then of course, the last thing that I want you to do, number 5, is to gain some perspective. And basically what this means is, it's kind of written like this. It says, is what you are beating yourself up about right now going to matter in 5 years? Be honest. So if you're beating yourself up about whatever it is, a task, a project, a dream, a relationship, anything, and it's crippling you to not make decisions that you need to make because they're not in the perfect timing or the perfect this or the perfect that, then I'm asking you to gain some perspective about where you're really at. And if where you're really at is gonna matter in 5 years, then definitely take it into consideration. But if it's not, then let it go. We'll go back to another one I said earlier, let it go, embrace the failure, move on, and move forward. So I really hope that this helps you out today, and I wanna leave you with a couple of affirmations for perfectionists that I have pulled up here as well. And these are things that you can say to yourself, and then I'll close this video out. So the first one is, I let go of the need for other people's approval. That's me. I love and accept myself for who I am. I am enough. This is enough. I have enough. I am worthy. I am whole. I focus on my own journey and my unique path. I love that. My worth does not depend on my work. For me, that's a huge one. I tie my worth so much to my work. and it's not the way it is. I'm an achiever on the Enneagram. If you're an Enneagram fan, I'm a 3. We are classic achievers. It's a rough road. The next one is I own my story. So I'm not ashamed of anything that's happened to me in my story, or things that I've done, or things that have been done in my story. I embrace my story and know that my story changes lives. My story is a testament of what God has done in my life. My story is a testimony for myself and will help breathe life into somebody else's despair. Okay, so that's you too. And then the last one, I trust the process. So I really hope this helps you out today, and I want to leave you with one of my favorite verses that completely relates to perfectionists and perfectionism, and it's this one. It's 2 Corinthians 12:9. Each time he said, my grace is all you need, so my grace is sufficient for you. My power works best in your weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. Paul was such a genius, and I absolutely love this verse. It is one of my favorites. So that's going to be a wrap for today's video. I really hope this helps you out, and I want to ask you this. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was down in the comments in this video. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and do that now so that you don't miss out on any future videos. And I, of course, will see you in my next video, either Friday or whatever's coming next on my channel. #ReformTomboyFamily. I'll see you soon.